Ash, as you know, Google and their efforts to try to increase diversity initiatives and to support social activism, Justin has become one of the forefront people in making sure that those efforts are made. We are now here to discuss this opportunity with you. So I wanted to ask if you could please pose your questions directly to him and, allow Justin an opportunity to respond.
Certainly.
We can have Justin kick things off actually with a description of the effort, if that's helpful.
Yeah, I'll be brief, and then I'll make a lot of time for questions. But as you all know, this is a 2-year sort of effort on the part of Google that will continue into 2018. We've invested now over $32 million towards racial justice. We entered this work in a couple of years ago after the Charleston church shooting with the lens of how can we try to improve the situation around systemic racism in this country, and it led us into a lot of work in the criminal justice system. That's where most of our grant making in this portfolio has taken place. The most recent announcement is $7.5 million is just several initiatives that are following along with the criminal justice reform work that we've done. And we've learned a lot in the past couple of years. We've invested a lot in data science and research. I kind of call it the 3 Ps, is kind of as we're narrowing our focus here around policing, prosecution, and prisons. Those are really the 3 areas that we've found we've been able to have the most impact. We've done really deep data-focused projects in all of those 3 areas now, and with this most recent portfolio, are turning our attention a little bit towards solutions. So while we're continuing to do a little bit of investment around data science and research, we're really trying to figure out in those areas of policing, prosecution, and prisons, what are some of the really innovative models that we're going to be able to invest in to make progress. So I'll stop there. That's a very, very high level. We can dig into whatever you're most...
Well, hello, Justin. My name is Ash Brown for AshSaidIt.com. And first and foremost, I would definitely want to say congratulations with all your success in accumulating well over $32 million in grants to these organizations that are advancing, reform in our justice system. So I tip my hat off to you all for that. That's incredible. I would imagine that you all get approached on a regular basis on a big scale from different organizations. And I wanted to know, what are some of the criteria that you all look for in these potential partnerships?
Yeah, for sure. So obviously we want to make sure that whatever we're funding is evidence-based, and, we're a data company, so we're oftentimes very focused on, can you show us what the results are? What are you holding yourself accountable for? Is this really going to make progress on the systemic level in particular? We're really interested in systems reform. So there's like an evidence-based, is this best practice? Do we feel like this is having an impact? It's also important for it to be authentic to Google. And when I say authentic to Google, it means a couple of things. I mean, I think one, we do appreciate innovation and disruption. We want to find leaders and organizations who are really pioneering new approaches, who are pushing the envelope, trying new things, bias towards action. All of those things that kind of come with innovation. But I've also found that, I think we do our best work when it feels authentic to Google's work and mission. That's why I think a lot of the data science and research grants have been really key for us, because it allows us to go far beyond the money. The money's great. We all know that nonprofit organizations need resources to be able to do their work, but I think we've been most proud of the way we've been able to extend beyond the grant making. For instance, with the Center for Policing Equity, which is our largest grant in the portfolio, we gave them $5 million at the end of last year. We had 10 software engineers at Google just spend 6 weeks with the Center for Policing Equity working to improve their national justice database. And they were introducing new features like geo-mapping or streamlining the data input. So we've really been able to take those opportunities where we're working on something that the company is really passionate about, where a lot of employees have deep expertise on, and been able to move beyond the grant. So I think that combination of it's evidence-based and it's authentic to Google is kind of our starting place.
Wouldn't it be great if there was a place to discover awesome discounts on gently used clothes? There is. Swap.com, the world's largest online consignment and thrift store. Stop driving store to store and shifting through dozens of racks. Shop millions of clothes in seconds on Swap.com. Save up to 90% off retail price for your favorite brands, such as Lululemon, Carter's, Nike, J.Crew, and so many more. If something doesn't fit, enjoy hassle-free returns 30 days, no questions asked. So what are you waiting for? Shop Swap.com right now. Use promo code ASHSAID40 for your 40% off today. And also with the Vera Institute project, I find that project incredible. I salute you all for that and all your efforts in it. I wanted to find out, what was the gap between the actual Vera Institute and Google.org?
You said what was the gap?
Right. What bridged the gap between the two of you? What connected you all together?
Oh, what connected us together? That's a great question. So I first met Nick Turner, who is the national president of Vera, very early on. There's some work actually being done out of our Washington, D.C. policy office by Malika Sadasar, who's our senior counsel on civil and human rights. Mm-hmm. And she hosted a convening and discussion about mass incarceration and criminal justice reform at our New York office. And I facilitated one of the panels of that convening. It was Sherilyn Eifel from the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, Nick Turner from Vera, and Glenn Martin from Just Leadership USA, who we also support. And that was the first time I met Nick and got familiar with Vera's work in a deep level. When I was in graduate school at the Harvard Kennedy School, I actually took a course from Christopher Stone, who was the former president of Vera. So I learned a little bit about Vera's work taking Chris's class, but my real introduction was serving on that as the moderator of that panel with Nick. And again, an example of Google efforts to go beyond the money, like using our convening power to be able to deepen the conversation around these topics.
What is the best way for the general public to get involved with Google.org and some of the initiatives that you all are following into 2018?
I think that our real focus is trying to lift up the work of the organizations that we're partnered with. And I think what we're trying to do is call on the public to contribute and follow the leaders that we're lifting up, like the Brian Stevenson or Nick Turner. So, when we work on a project like the Lynching in America project with Brian, that's really, we've now got 2 million views of the content related to that project. So it's like you're lifting this up for the general public, and then the call is not necessarily for people to come to Google and work with Google, but really more to partner with Brian. Let's get lynching markers in the places in the South where these 4,000 plus racial terror lynchings happened, or let's get people signed up with the Vera Institute to advocate for criminal justice reform. So I think for us, hopefully, folks who are interacting with the content on our side are then funneling to the leaders of these organizations.
And this is the important role that blogs and outlets like yours really help also share that news with. So thank you all for being on this call today. This is Roya. I've had the amazing pleasure of working with Justin and team on these initiatives from the beginning. And we've seen a lot of the interest that the general public has is because of the news stories that are out there that help shine a light on not only the commitment from Google, but more importantly, the work that the grantees are doing. So if we can help raise that profile a little bit and help make this part of the national conversation through all sorts of Google channels. We had a doodle over the summer that was tied to the silent parade, which was in the end of July. That links then back to the Lynching in America fact that Justin just mentioned. So there's a lot that we've done both on our social media channels, but also throughout the press outreach to really help increase awareness for those who may not know that this work is being done, but also help highlight organizations like Vera and EJI and CCE to the incredible work they're doing